What's going on, people? How are you guys? How are you? How's everybody doing? Season
How
three, bro.
goes it?
Season three of Unfiltered Garage. What started as hey, what if has become something that we enjoy a lot, dude. Right?
We have a blast, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. What you been up to, man? Before we go into the episode.
Man, just working, and trying to work out, and same old, same old. Went to Leesburg.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was man, it was good, man. It was really good. Nice, great weather, no rain, so that's a plus. Beautiful scenery. Can't
Just
complain, man. It was
informing
great.
the audience, or you're just rubbing that on my face? What?
Ah, man, you went out for a jet ski ride on a Harley-Davidson jet ski ride. That's what you did.
Buddy, 9 hours of rain just on Sunday. 9 hours of
Yeah,
pure rain, dude. Bro, it rained
yeah.
the whole
It's
way.
great. Yeah, it's great for the grass. Sucks if you're on a bike.
Yeah, most definitely. But hey, yeah, same old here. Riding a lot. We went up to see our people up in River City. Saturday was fantastic, man. We went headed to Georgia through country roads, which, as you can imagine, is just epic riding and
Yeah,
amazing ride.
those are always a treat.
Yeah, man, this is just awesome, bro. And those are the ones that I enjoy the most. Um, but listen, dude, this what we're going to be talking about motorcycle legends today. Legends that has shaped our culture, people that have helped shape our culture in some way, shape or form. But this actually, in full transparency, this started as a Bible class that I was teaching at church. I have the opportunity to teach steps at church, and I was hosting steps. And one of the things that I was saying to people is that if we don't have a mindset of legacy, of building something that is solid and long lasting, doesn't have to be everlasting. The only one that is everlasting is Jesus. But long lasting, something that is solid. What are we doing? We're kind of wasting time. And you cannot do this also because you understand project management. So when you're doing a project and you're building something for your company, you're fixing something, you want to fix it with the right tools, man. And you want to just want to make sure that everything is the foundation is solid. One of the things that I was so excited to see this week, and I saw a Harley, and it's a knucklehead frame. It's a softer knucklehead frame, something like that, but it's a panhanded engine, and man, it was a
Yeah.
panhead engine, and it was a panhandle. Everybody was in the panhandle of Florida this weekend, so that's why
That's
I'm
what's
thinking
up.
about that. So it's a panhead engine, and it's just beautiful motorcycle to look around. And I was looking and I said, man, there is a lot of legacy in there. Right. So that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah. Yeah, build it right, and it'll last. And that's something that when we talk about what we're going to be talking about, it's a lot of it has to do with that. If you build it right with the right purpose, with the right, materials and I think about cars. I love my, 50s, 60s, 70s cars because, they were
They last
built,
forever.
they last forever. And there's a reason for that. And you compare anything that's built today, it's good for 6 years. Right about when you make that last payment. That's right then is you got problems. You're gonna have issues. But when you build it right, and how do we build it right? So yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's unpack it.
Sounds good, man. So we put kind of like, hey, a couple motorcycles icons in here, and we're just gonna be talking about a couple people that is worth noticing, right? So we're gonna talk about innovators, man, people that changed the industry for good. And one of them was Glenn Curtis. I don't know if you remember this, but this guy, he rode a V8 powered motorcycle. This is the first. Can you imagine putting a V8 on a motorcycle? And that was 1907, 136 miles per hour. So, do you know what kind of creativity, craziness? I don't know if it's creativity, craziness that
Yeah,
you have to have.
definitely innovative and yeah, thinking totally outside the box. V8, and they still do them. I mean, you can buy a what is it? A Haas, a Boss, a
Boss
Haas,
Hoss.
Boss Haas bikes. I mean, can you imagine in 1907? You know what? I love to see the movie about the fastest Indian. I think it's the fastest Indian
Yeah.
or something like that. Anthony Hopkins,
Anthony
great
Hopkins, great
movie.
movie.
Great movie. I was reading these. I mean, maybe that's fiction. I think it was probably a true story, but man, that we're talking about fast bikes, right? Something that was crazy. So, yeah, not for sure. But what about William and Arthur Davidson?
Yeah, 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 yeah. People that just trap themselves. They needed to fix an issue. So listen, innovation comes like that. My mom used to say that necessity is the mother of the innovation. Or
Yes, it
when you
is.
need something, so they just needed to go faster on the bicycles. And I wonder, do you think what they think? You know, if they were to live right now, what would they think about the electric bicycles? Like, dude, the other day I saw some kids just riding on the street. I was like, how come he's not even sweating? Like, I mean, he's going fast. He's not even sweating. What do you do when you have to cross an intersection and you're short on time on your VMX? What you do?
Oh,
What,
you get on you got to get off that seat and put your back into it. Yeah.
buddy? And I was like, how he's going so fast? Like, I mean, he's not, because normally you do this and you start just kind of attack. I was like, how is it that he's going so fast? And my wife, she hit me with the reality and she said, babe, it's an e-bike. And I was like, God, we lost another generation, bro.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
We lost it.
there's so, and you see it with the scooters, you see it with everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's all electric or so there's a lot less pedaling and a lot
Yeah.
less. You know,
But these guys,
they
man,
must be a lot of fun, but
yeah, I guess these guys, man, they had a vision. They had they it wasn't easy. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it to find it. I thought it was I think it was in the History Channel. They did a 5 6 episode special on Harley Davidson, and he actually shaped America. It is an icon of
that
Americana. You think about Harley Davidson, you think America. Um,
yeah.
and is
Mm-hmm.
is the most sought after motorcycle in the United States, right? And it's an icon. People that have, and I'm not gonna say the same for the Indian, right? But people that have all motorcycles, they have those motorcycles because I don't know, man. Really, I don't know. But I had a Honda Shadow just because I couldn't afford a Harley. That is my reality. I'm not gonna say people. I'm gonna say myself. I know you were against Harley when you started riding. You didn't care for them.
But the reason why I didn't care for them in total transparency and honesty is that, first of all, I knew they were expensive, especially in Puerto Rico. They were extremely expensive. Secondly, I was under the impression that they were very high maintenance, right? They were very needy bikes, which is not necessarily untrue, but it's not something that's a deal breaker. It's something that you can manage. But I was in the mindset of I'm not trying to break my budget on fixing my a Harley all the time. So I went the route of the Honda, which is a great bike. You can try to kill a Honda and you will fail every time. They last forever. And hey man, if that's what you can have, then hey, be blessed and ride safe. Um, I got the Harley when I came across the ministry that required a Harley, and I really wanted to be in ministry and I wanted to do that, so I got myself a Harley.
In full
Little
transparency, that was it. That was the same reason why I got myself a Harley. But I was so happy that that was the reason, and because I always wanted a Harley. My Honda was a Honda Davidson, meaning she identified as a Harley.
They all are. They all are. You look at any cruiser and they're going to be modeled after a Harley. They will try to make them sound like
Yeah,
and again, this is a thought. How often do you see people gathering at your Harley at your at your Honda dealerships or at your Kawasaki dealerships or your Suzuki dealerships? How often do you see people, buying Honda clothes when they don't even have a Honda? That doesn't happen. Yet you will always find people buying Harley clothes or, getting the Harley boots, the leather jacket, whatever it is, you know, and then they may not even ride. They have they have a hope. I remember one guy that I saw with the jacket, and I approached him and I said, "Hey man, you ride?" He says, "Not yet, but I have the jacket." That's the hope, and we know that in Mexico, that's how they do. They start getting,
They buy by
little by
pieces.
little, they start with, the keychain or whatever. But they hope. And that is what we're talking about when we talk about Harley Davidson. It's the standard. I'm not saying that it's the best bike, but that's the standard of what people aspire to. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, but I have this other bike, which is fine, which is great. I
Hmm.
love it, but there's something that goes along with the Harley brand that's special. And that was born out of these two gentlemen that they revolutionized the world of motorcycles. And you know, I praise God for them because that's something that we've come to love and to really buy into, and it's changed our lives.
Yeah, let's talk about iconic motorcycles, and let's start with the Harley Davidson Knucklehead. I was born in 1936, and it's a motorcycle that saw the world. Actually, the Knucklehead is the motorcycle that we owe the favor of bringing GIs back to America, forming motorcycle clubs. This is the motorcycle that popularized a motorcycle racing, popularized clubs and that kind of stuff. That's a and as I said before, man, it is just a beauty. It's a motorcycle. I wouldn't honestly. Would you own one of those?
You know what? If I had, what I call crazy money, sure, why not? And I've seen when I was in Leesburg, I saw in the Bike Fest one of
Mhm.
those old bikes, and it was just rusty and crusty, and it had so much character. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful that it's on the
It's
road.
beautiful.
I know for certain that a lot of these bikes are maintenance heavy, because they're all so old and whatnot. But that's, Critter, shout out to Critter. He always says if you want a knucklehead, a panhead, a shovelhead, or any of these older motors, yeah, you can ride the bike. They're gonna be good for 20 miles, and then you're gonna go back home, and then you gotta
Fix
fix
then
it for
again.
another couple weeks, So that's but that goes with the beauty of the bike and the
Yeah,
tradition
yeah.
and the history of the bike. If you have it, then you know what you're getting into. A lot of people don't know what they're getting into, and they dream about, oh, I want this, I want that, and then they come to realize, hey, wait a minute, man, this is a lot of work. And then, that dies quickly, but
But this
it's a
is
phenomenal bike.
so interesting what you're saying, dude. That it's a lot of work because something that is long lasting doesn't mean that it doesn't have a lot of work, right? Relationships, for
Yes.
instance, you
Yes.
can build a marriage, and it's beautiful and it can be long lasting, but it requires a lot of maintenance.
Oof.
Don't you think? Can we equate that to that? To
Yes. You know what?
and
That
we're
is
the
spot
knuckleheads
on.
though.
That's spot on. That's spot on. Yeah. I mean, I'm a knucklehead, and I'm the knucklehead. And my wife is working. I'm good for a good 2 weeks, and then she got to go back to work. I mean, um,
For another three.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes, she's like, "I'm gonna trade you in." I'm like, "Nah, you can't. You can't."
I'm gonna
But you
trade you up.
absolutely, yeah, exactly. I'm like trade up. I agree with you in that sense, and right what we were talking about when we started organizations, what we put our life, blood, sweat, and tears into, many times. If we want them to last, and if they are long lasting, it will be a work of love, and there's so much that goes into it to keep them alive and to make them better and to make sure that they are ready for the next generation, because anything that we do, when we think about it, we want to make sure that it is going to be ready to be handed for the next generation. So of
I,
course it's going to be labor intensive, and we do it with love.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go back to that point, but I just want to mention two other motorcycles that I actually love: the Triumph Bonneville, this beauty from Great Britain. It's just a beautiful motorcycle. Honestly, I have ridden one of them, newer generation. God, Jesus, what a motorcycle, dude! It is smooth, but at the same time, she has a presence on it, and
Oh yeah.
the Indian Scout. I hate this motorcycle.
Hmm.
I really hate this motorcycle. I love the motorcycle, but I hate reading this motorcycle. And actually, my brother Tacti had that motorcycle. But she's a workhorse, bro. She won't die. she won't die.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, listen, going back to the point that we were discussing, people think that these are motorcycles. We're talking about motorcycles in the 30s, in the from 1920s, 1940s. Motorcycles that are pretty old, and you can see them on the road right now, and or you can see them in a museum, whatever is the case. People think that they're gonna stay original. And listen, when you do maintenance, and or when you are using things and they're gonna break, and at some point you're gonna have to fabricate some parts, right? You're gonna have to use a different engine. So it is something that is long lasting, doesn't mean that it's going to remain original. If you're married, or you're part of a motorcycle organization, right? Don't you think that the organization is gonna stay the same as it was? If it stays the same, there is a problem. It's a red flag. Either you're not using it, or you're not putting a lot of intentionality into it. If your motorcycle only has 3,000 miles, man, since the day that you bought it at 2009, you are not using your motorcycle. And the same happens in marriage. My wife is not the same person that I married eh, 18 years ago. She has changed. Of course, she has evolved. And there are things that the person that I'm married to, they're not there anymore. And I'm hoping the same happens with me, right? So we're kind of like resto mode, and we're not original. And the same happens with organization and with churches, right? Like with any organization, any motorcycle club or any motorcycle ministry, they're supposed to be evolving. I hear the argument of I'm leaving this because it's not the same. Oh man, perhaps you are the one. It's not that it's not the same. You haven't evolved. So that
Yeah. So I think that when we started out, we may have, if I may be confused and thinking about something else, but the purpose of our organizations, that might probably not change. And that's good, right?
yes.
Because when we start something, there's a purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
that purpose is God given.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that
Beautiful.
right, God gives us the desires of our heart. A lot of
Yes,
people are
sir.
confused and they think that, oh, he's going to give me whatever I want. No, he
Amen.
gives you the desire of what he puts in your heart, what to desire. And that's the purpose, the godly purpose, the God-given purpose of our organizations, whatever that be, right? And that is the goal, to have and to be part of an organization that is God directed, God driven, and that the purpose is given by God. However, the purpose doesn't change. However, the methods might change. The standard operating procedures might change. The approach might change, because we live in a world that is always changing. Just technology alone. I mean, again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were walking around with flip phones or the Nokia playing Snake. Now we got computers in our pockets.
Yeah.
So technology changes, people change. We need to adjust. That doesn't mean that our purpose changed. That doesn't mean that our message changes, right? So definitely I agree with you in the fact that yes, we will always be evolving. Your wife, my wife, hopefully we are evolving as men, and we continue to grow, and we continue to, because if we do not, the Bible says that we go from glory to glory. And we need to aspire to change. We can't, if we stay the same, then that's a sad state of affairs, because that means that we are not growing, and we need to grow.
Stagnation sucks, man. Stagnant water smells.
It stinks. Oh,
Yes, things raw. It's the one that brings a lot of bugs. You don't want that in your life. Most definitely, that's something that you don't want in your life. Something
and
that.
and, and actually, that is a clear sign of death.
Yeah,
When
yeah, yeah,
when an
yeah.
organization is stagnant and they stay the same and they remain in the same old, and nothing changes, it's gonna pass. It's gonna
That.
go. It's gonna go the way of the dodo.
I always say that, whenever someone asks me at work, most definitely, why do we have to do it like that? Well, because the stagnation is dead. Stagnation is dead. Stagnation means that somebody that the Turkey Vulture are surrounding you already, and so they can pick you apart. And that's what it is. And somebody's gonna steal the best out of your organization, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about some icons, people that to me, define our culture a little bit. I'm just gonna mention two of them. And by the way, guys, we're not glorifying no one. We're not just oh my God, they're great people or anything like that. It was just, people that shape the culture that we have. Wino, Wino Willie, it's Willie Wino, from Boost Fighters MC, the founder of Boost Fighters MC. This dude was a rebel that was kicked out of the 13 rebels. They say we don't need a 14 one. Then he got kicked out and he went into form.
The
Um,
roster was full.
yeah. He went into form organically. The Boost Fighters, the wild ones. That's their motto. And I have written the book, and I read the book every so often because it is a reminder to me of how this culture started, and what was the purpose behind. And he created something. He brought the sense of brotherhood to the motorcycle world, to the motorcycle culture, to motorcycle clubs. Whether you're part of a motorcycle association, a motorcycle ministry, a motorcycle a riding group, a riding club, a motorcycle club. You, the brotherhood, little or much that you have, is something that we need to look back and say, hey, thank you, Willie Wino, because it was actually him who came up with the concept of it, right? And he was just trying to find shelter for brothers that just came back to America from work. So that guy is, he did that. And Sonny Barker, which is, I'm sure a lot of clubs are gonna hate me for saying this, but the modern clubs that we have nowadays, the professionalism, the type of organization, how they run stuff, we need to thank Sonny Barker for that, from the Hell Angels. He has a legacy, although complicated. It's a legacy nonetheless, which goes to show you something in the Bible. I don't remember exactly a verse, and probably perhaps you can help me with. In the Bible says that there's two type of legacy, that God visits the evilness of your son up to until the fourth generation, but also He blesses your good legacy. So there's two type of legacy. I heard something said recently, and this is something. Don't let this don't let your storms wet your grandkids. And don't let your problems be your grandkids' problem, right? So, and that goes to show you that legacy is something, you can create a legacy of good, or you can create a legacy for bad as well. And that's important. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What kind of legacy do you want to? What kind of legend do you want to be? Do you want to be that kind of legend? You want to be, um, offline? We were talking about, Pablo Escobar. We were talking about so many people that are great legacy, right? So, anything that you want to add to that point?
No, yeah, you have a lot of people that were game changers, right? The people that changed perhaps the background, the scenario. They painted they painted and they outlined what would, how can I say this? They set up the scenario for future organizations, right? Um, but and this goes to say about, and you said something about let make sure that your pronouns are not, your grandkids' pronouns, or whatever your legacy, not tarnish your your generations. I think that goes to who we want to be and who we are as Christ followers. Yes, we want to make sure that whatever we do glorifies God first and foremost, and builds that type of a legacy, right? Again, these people, as we were talking about, yes, Pablo Escobar, he changed the game for people that were dealing with, all that stuff. And that's historic. Is that something that his kids or his kids want to be recognized as? Oh yeah, his grandpa was the guy that invented this or that. But that goes to each person's individual character. Us as Christian people, as Christ followers, yeah, for sure, we want to make sure that our legacy, whatever we put into and sow, the seed that we sow, be something that will be of good, and something that will bring glory to God. And with that segue, let's talk about, Christian motorcycle organizations that have really stood the challenge of time. They have been long lasting. They have been
Mm-hmm.
pillars in our community, right? The biker community. And that is something that we can talk about with so much pride and so much good feelings and really
Yeah.
be proud of because,
Good sentiment.
for example, let's talk about CMA. CMA was founded in 1975.
What is
They've
CMA?
always,
What is CMA?
well, yeah, thank you. Christian Motorcycle
There you
Association.
go.
You see these beautiful men and women all over the place. Whenever you go to Daytona, they're there. If you go to Leesburg, they're going to, wherever there are bikers, you will find these men and women of God. And they've always focused on reaching bikers with the love of price without preaching to them. You know, they're at every kind of event, like I just said, and they're just living out their motto, which is changing the world one heart at a time. That's beautiful, you know, and long lasting. 1975, that is a long
That's a long time,
time.
brother.
That's a
You know,
long time.
CMA. That's before you and I were born. So
Yeah.
CMA here in Miami just celebrated 27 years.
Wow. Yeah. Bob and Marsha. Shout out to Bob and Marsha.
Yeah, before you and I thought about, or God had put in our hearts to start something. They were here already. So man, this is people that honestly I'm
Putting in the
grateful for
work,
them.
putting
Yeah,
in the work and
they've
really
been putting the
paving
paving the
the way
way.
for
Yes,
so many
sir.
other organizations.
Yes, sir.
Take the next one.
Has been easy for them? I don't think so.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And again, right? Shout out to Bob and Marshall. We were
Yes,
talking, you know, and we invited them, and they were mentioning how, you know, they don't have the same amount of energy because they've been doing it for a long time.
for
But
a long time.
praise God, you know, we lift up prayers for them all the time because yeah, we need people like that to keep on, you know, showing up and sharing with, you know, the younger generation, you know, the love of Christ that they have and the love of for the community that they still have and drives them.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the next one. I think it's kind of personal for me. Lisa Saints
It better
MC.
be. It better be. It better
Lisa
be.
Saints MC, my organization, my club, my family, my nation, dude. This organization started as a family affair. A bunch of knuckleheads. This is a dad that found Jesus, and he said these knuckleheads they better behave, and he saw a motorcycle club as the outlet to kind of um direct that energy and creativity that these kids have. That's how Lisa Saint started, man, as an outlet to, hey, all this energy that you have, we're gonna put it to lead the lost to the cross. I absolutely love your enthusiasm. We're gonna use it for good, man, and it became a family affair. Something we've been as a nation 16 years, we're celebrating 17 years this year. We're in different a nation is because we have more than 10 years, more than 10 chapters, in more than 10 different cities or countries. So we've been, we have that. We became a nation. I don't remember when exactly, but it has been an amazing trip. But everything started with a purpose, right? It has evolved. I'm sure the Galvans brothers and the Galvan family, they never thought they would just, they were doing something for San Antonio, and they never thought, they will have a chapter in Miami full of Cubans and people that drinks cafecito. But here we are. But the purpose, this is what you mentioned before, that the purpose is the same, remains the same, leading the lost to the cross. The method and how we do that, how we accomplish that is different because now we are doing it in different languages. We're going to start doing it pretty soon. We're going to start doing it, we do it in Spanish, we do it, in different languages. So that's God. But the next one is actually pretty close to my heart as well, man. Talk to us about the next one.
Yeah, Black Sheep Motorcycle Ministry for Christ. That's my organization or the organization I serve in. I have the privilege and the honor to serve in. And, you know, it's all about bringing the gospel to those who ride. That's what Black Sheep is all about. It was started by our founder is Marty Edwards. God bless him. This is a beautiful man, just a he's a teddy bear of a dude. He is the funniest guy you would ever meet, and God put it in his heart. And again, this is what we were talking about, its purpose and how God gives us the desires of our heart. He put in his heart to start this organization, and we focus mainly one of our main priorities is Harley's Owners Group. That's our mission field, our primary mission field. But we will preach like I said, right? It's bringing the gospel to all who ride. And so we'll if we have the opportunity to regular riders, people that are in clubs, one percenters, whoever is willing to listen to what we have to share, and what we bring is the love of Christ. We do it through friendship, through relationship, and that's what it's all about. It started in 1999. We just celebrated 25 years. We've got chapters in 47 chapters in 50 states. We got Australia, Mexico, in France. We've got representation. So definitely something that started in Temecula or Lake Elsinore, California, just maybe similar to your guys, just thinking, let's do something, and local. But this is how you know that it's a God thing, when it keeps on growing, when the foundation is solid, and it passes through the test of time, right? It goes through, multiple, evolutions. And
Good, bro.
as we go towards the next generation, we keep on working towards preparing the field for what's next. But that vision
That's
only
okay, man.
comes when it's a godly affair.
And you know how you make it a godly affair, Amner?
Yeah, go ahead.
With obedience, bro. Because God doesn't, he doesn't bless intentions. Like everybody has good intentions, bro. Like I mean, God blesses obedience.
Yeah.
I'm sure Papa G, I'm sure Marty, I'm sure the founders of CMA, I'm sure, they, bro, like with all the fear in the world, can you imagine? Like, I mean, starting a chapter, dude, is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even with fear, I'm going to do it, right? So that's courage, right? But when you say yes, even though you don't want to, I says, okay, now I'm in the picture. You just brought me to the picture. I'll take care of it. And look at that, man. 25 years is something that, bro. Listen, there are not that many cars that have lasted 25 years, man. There are not that many relationships. There are not that many teams that have lasted 25 years. It's something that you say because it's not 25 years of. Let's bring this into perspective. It's a marriage, 25 years. It's a man and a woman.
Yeah.
This is over, I don't know, over 1,000 members. It's not 25 years. It's 25 years of dealing with a lot of people and it's still keeping it together. That has to be God.
Of course.
That's the only
And
way to do it, right?
let me share a couple of verses, that because we were trying to
Please
tie this in.
bring this to perspective.
Yes, in Psalms 127, verse 1, it says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain." This is, you know, what we're talking about. If it's not a godly thing, really, it's going to be very tough to maintain an organization growing and serving a purpose. That's why when we talk about organizations, if anybody listening to us is thinking about building an organization or joining an organization, these are the things that you want to make sure. Is this a God ordained organization? Is this something that has a purpose that you can be sure that God has put it,
Jesus.
and you know that the product is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Yeah. Yeah.
where you want to, because let's be honest, being part of an organization is hard work, especially if it's an organization that has a purpose.
Hmm.
You name it, whatever it is, whatever person. It doesn't have to be a godly purpose. It doesn't have to be something that has to do with church or anything like that. If you're in an organization that is working towards raising money for I don't know, whatever, puppies or whatever it is, you have to make sure that this is an organization that it's worth your time and your effort. Because if not, and I know plenty of people that have sowed their time, their money, their effort into organizations that all of a sudden it falls apart. And
Yeah.
it was because it was built on, it was built in the sand, not on the rock. And the Bible talks about that. Build your house on the rock, the foundation that is something that's solid.
That's so interesting, Abner. And one of the reasons why I always advocate do not start anything, bro. Join something that is already started. Is because listen, it's frowned upon. A in the culture, number one is frowned upon for you to do something like that. But B, if you're joining or trying to start, which is that has a Christian intention behind, man, there's a lot of purpose that God has given to patients. So being certain that this is something that God is telling you to do, it is difficult. I'm not doubting your relationship with the Lord. I'm just saying that I know that these organizations are thriving and or struggling, but they're struggling with the Lord. Because I'm not gonna say, oh my God, they're growing. And no, no, no. There are organizations that they're struggling with the Lord, and it's part of the season that they are right. So that's what I'm trying to say. But do you want to work in vain? I don't think so, man. So we just put God to work, right? So that's what we read in Psalms, right? That doesn't mean that you're not gonna have to pick up a hammer and just start just putting some nails here and there. But it's
No,
God who is going to be your foreman, right?
yes, it's a good when you know that what you're doing is worthwhile and that God is within it and it's of God, even though it's hard work, you put in the work with joy. Let me share another verse. It says in First Corinthians chapter 3, 10 and 11, it says, according to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation and someone else is building upon it. Each one take care of how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. So really, basically what it's saying is that for anything lasting and that the ultimate foundation of what we build needs to be built upon that foundation of which is Christ, right? And that's for us, right? Because we are in organizations that are godly organizations, right? They're Christ driven. They have a purpose to glorify our Father, right? But that is what we're talking about. That work that we put in is something that somebody else is going to be also working, and we work for that. If we're not putting in the work for future generations, because you mentioned 25 years. Listen, my parents have been married for, they're going on 50 years pretty soon,
Hmm.
if not more. I don't even know. But that's a goal. It's not 25, it's not 30, it's 50, it's 100 years. That's what we are working towards because it is that important because it's a God-given gift that we have received to build an organization that glorifies our Father, which is another thing, right? Colossians 3:17 says, "Is whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father through Him." We talked about this in other episodes where we talked about whatever you do it to glorify God and do it as for God and not for men. When you do that, the product is always going to be a good product. And that is the goal. The goal is to put in good work, to put in work that glorifies God and that will benefit others and that will bless others. Because it's not for the it's not for the sake of doing work. It's not it's to bless others. Ozzy, what you say?
Bro, listen, and this is something that is big into my to art, and this is kind of like what triggered this conversation or this episode. Once again, I was just telling people, man, if you're doing something that is not going to last the next generation, is it worth doing? Is it worth doing it? I mean, if you're doing something that is, for instance, serving God, it comes with promises, right? It says, "Me and my house will serve the Lord." Uh, so what serving God it brings that kind of stuff, right? Like it brings a legacy that lasts a generation. So to me, it's extremely important for me, personally speaking, that I know that if something needs to be long lasting, doesn't have to be forever, and doesn't have to. like that forever, most definitely. But it needs to be something that is worth doing, man. Something that when people look back, they say, "Hey, grandpa, great grandpa helped us build that." He was the first generation Christian. He was part. Great grandpa was part of a motorcycle club, and now I am, the president of motorcycle club. That kind of stuff is important to me, at least to me as a man. I am in a season of my life where I'm looking into legacy a lot. Just want to build for the next generations. I don't want to build something that is just for me. That's called selfish. So I'm sacrificing for the next generations. That's what I'm doing. So that's the way that I see it, bro.
I agree, and the way I see it is the following: anything that's worth doing is going to be difficult. Anything that's worth while will take effort. And serving the Lord is not easy. Writing for Jesus is not easy.
No, most definitely.
It'd be way easier to just ride and ride for yourself. But does that glorify God? Now, if you serve and you love Jesus, then what you do, you want to make sure that it glorifies him and that it serves him in everything we do. And for that reason, we have to keep in mind that yes, being part of an organization takes effort, obedience, sacrifice, and many more things that don't come natural to us as humans, as people. However, if we want to be a blessing to others and we want to count with the blessing of our Father, then it's worth the effort. It's worth the while. And when you join an organization, keep that in mind. When you're looking into an organization, keep that in mind because the Bible says that your yes should be yes and your
And you
no,
know,
no. If
sure
you're gonna
enough.
say, if you're gonna join and then you're gonna, you're thinking, oh, well, I really like it. Think twice. Don't do it because you like it. Do it because you feel that the Lord is calling you to this. Because if you feel and you have that conviction in your heart that God is calling you to join this organization, you will do whatever it takes to A, please the Lord in what you do, put in the work, and be a part of the future of the organization. And you will work on the foundation that other people have laid, right? That other people have prepared, and you will treat it with respect. You will honor that, and you will see how God blesses you in your efforts also. And that is the most beautiful thing that you can see and that you can enjoy. It's seeing how God is using you and not for you to feel like, oh, look at me. That's not look at me. It's look at what God does when people bring their best effort and they just go to work.
That's
So
awesome,
think
dude.
about it. Yeah, think about it, meditate on it, and don't take my word for it, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, dude. This one was really close to me, man. There you have it, people. My closing statement say, "Hey, what are you building? Let us know what are you building. What kind of thing are you building? Where are you in legacy? Leave it in the comments." My closing statement is, if you're not building it with God, just do remember that you are laboring in vain. It's a secret. You don't want to labor in vain. Do it with God. He is here to
Amen.
help you. Okay. Thank you,
Amen.
fam. That was the episode for today. Hope to see you guys soon. This is season 3, episode 1. Yeah, episode 1. See you guys
Be
around.
blessed, ride
Be
safe.
blessed. Ride safe.
Peace out.